Welcome to the show, Tom Opgenorth. Tom is a board member with the Sherwood Park Fish and Game Association. And one of the things I wanted to have you on to talk about, Tom, was conservation groups and gun control and the kind of direction that things are going. So thanks for coming on the show, by the way.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I'm probably missing some of your exploits here. You're also a maple seed trainer. What
Yes.
else do you do?
Well, that's a good question. It depends who you ask. If you ask my kids, I sit in a computer all day and do nothing meaningful. By day, basically, the simplest way to put it is I'm a computer programmer. And yeah, I am the rifle chair at Sherwood Park Fish and Game, or the rifle director. And so my role there is basically to promote anything to do with the shooting sports with a focus on rifles. Yeah, so to that end, a couple 3 years ago, I heard about this maple seed stuff and I thought it was absolutely brilliant.
Hmm.
And I've been making noise to get maple seed active and going within Sherwood Park Fish and Game. And I'm trying to bring a whole bunch of other things, rimfire silhouette, hopefully rimfire race guns this year.
That'd be cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm toying, noodling around with some like center fire big bore stuff. Different thoughts on that, trying to come up with some plans.
That's
You,
that's that's amazing. Yeah, I mean, a lot of that's a lot of competitive shooting for a fish and game association, right? I
yeah,
think that's one of the surprising things, I guess, that I found about Sherwood Park, because I just joined this year. I'm also a member at Chaz, which has lots of
yeah.
competition shooting as well. It's something that I really like to do at the range is competition shooting, because after competition shooting, I find sitting at a bench shooting kind of boring. And
Kind of.
kind of depends on what I'm shooting in the day, kind of a thing, right? Can be a little bit more exciting if you double stuffed one of your mags with or one of your rounds are either with a little bit too much powder. But yeah, I mean, competition sport shooting is where it's at. So how long has Sherwood Park been running these competition matches, and what kind of brought it about?
Well, so if you go back far enough, and I'm sort of learning all this stuff because I talk to members now, being part of the board, is I guess Sherwood Park used to do a lot of this stuff back in the '90s and early 2000s. Like there was an active bullseye league, there was an active metallic silhouette league, all that sort of a stuff. And mostly an organization, most of these fish and game organizations are volunteer run, and just kind of the volunteers stopped or got old or lost interest, and things died off. And then about 3 years ago, my kids were getting older and I'm like, yeah, I want to get back into shooting sports. I have the time. And I was looking at Sherwood Park and I'm like, there's nothing here, but we have a really awesome range.
Yeah, fantastic looking
Yeah.
range.
And
Yeah.
so, I sent a few emails out to the board and I never got a response. And then they happened to send out an email saying, oh, we need help on the board. If you want to join, please volunteer, which is what I did. And I sort of said, well,
Hmm.
we have a great range. There's lots of people that are interested in shooting events. I'm happy to help organize and make those happen. So really in the last 3 years, there's been an uptick at Sherwood Park Fish and Game. Before that, it was I guess more like your traditional fish and game club where you'd go there in the fall, you'd sight your rifle, and then that was it for the year, kind of a thing.
Hmm.
So the last 3 years, I guess there's been an uptick. I've met a lot of people, and I've managed to suck a couple other victims in to help organize stuff. Um, like one guy I met at Chaz Three Gun, he's now our handgun chair, Mark Lowry, and
Yep.
he's trying to organize, some like handgun fundamentals courses. And here are talking about like an action pistol night. So think IPSC, but like more informal, more casual, with a focus on, just get people out, let them have fun, let them shoot their pistols and talk to each other, and just learn things that they couldn't normally pick up on their own.
Yeah, there's another thing that happens with that is community building as well. Like if you just go to the range, you get to know some of the like regulars. Like there's,
Yeah.
you probably know this better than I do, but there's a significant portion of membership that just goes to the range once or twice a year, and then there's like a tiny portion of like super users that are there like every other weekend. And if you go to the range, you got a good chance of seeing them, and you can meet those people and talk with them, but not like a shooting club or like a more paced kind of an event. And that's one thing that I discovered with Three Gun, for example, where you kind of shoot with the same guys, you get to know them, and you get to know them really well, and become
Yeah.
friends with them. And that's something that is a little bit more difficult to have happen just happenstance running across someone at the range when you're trying to do your own thing. You're trying to sight in this rifle or trying to test this ammo or do a ladder this or something. Whereas competition sports really does build that community a lot better than just randomly meeting people, right?
Yeah. So in talking to some of the members, I was actually surprised. Like some of them gave me the feedback that they like these things because, they maybe haven't grown up around firearms or they don't know a lot about them. So they don't know what to do when they get to the range. They're like, okay, so I'm sitting here. I have my rifle. I have my ammunition. I
Mm-hmm.
stapled up a target. Now what? It's like, well, if you organize an event, they have someone that can sort of tell them, well, do these things and that will make you better. Or the other thing they really liked is just like you sort of hit on the community of it. So when they go to the range themselves, well, they don't know the guy to the left of them. They don't know the guy to the right to them. Maybe they're a bit shy. They don't want to
Mm-hmm.
impose and say, can we shut down the range so I can change targets or whatever, And so they just like the group aspect of, this is under control. No one's going to do anything wrong or crazy. And there's lots of people they can talk to learn, get support, understand different aspects of all the shooting sports, not just whatever. If they're shooting rifle, odds are there's going to be someone in an event that knows about pistols that they can talk to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean the one thing you hit on there is uh, getting better. Like I think I've talked about it on the show before. Like when I first started shooting, I've had pistols for a long time, and I've been terrible at pistols for probably the longest amount of time. Because when I first got a pistol, I would just shoot at the range and just be awful at it and just not know like the capabilities of the platform. I was just thinking, handguns are just bad. They're just inaccurate. When it
Yep.
was actually, it was, no, I'm bad. I'm
Yeah.
inaccurate.
Yeah.
And here are the things I need to do. This guy said, grip the pistol better. This guy says, I'm anticipating. I don't think I'm anticipating, but I am. Oh, okay, interesting. Here are some
Yeah.
different drills you can try to do that on your own time, and then benchmarking yourself, right? Oh, I think I'm a pretty good shot. Okay, well, go try doing a match. Oh, I'm not. Oh, I'm not, and I'm not by like this much. Okay, well, there's a whole other level here that I need to that I could bring myself to if I wanted to. I think that you get all that stuff with competition.
Yeah. Like just this past weekend, I was out there and I was talking to a couple of members, and they were asking about ORPS and CRPS,
Mm-hmm.
and they were amazed that we had these in Canada, and then they were amazed that anyone would shoot a 22 past 50 meters. And I was like, oh yeah,
Yeah,
no problem.
yeah. Every once in a while, I'll talk to someone like, yeah, the effective range of 22 is 100 meters. And like 6 years
Eh,
ago, 8 years ago, 10 years ago, I
yep.
think I would have agreed with you, but that's because I didn't know.
Yeah.
That's because I didn't know, oh, you can shoot them out to 200. You have to be like exceptionally well set up for it
Yep.
to make hits at that distance, but it's possible.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. It's
Yep.
yeah, very interesting on some of that stuff. Um, One of the other things, so you're mentioning, at Sherwood Park, you guys are really adding more sporting events, which is really cool. One of the other things that I noticed on the newsletter is that uh, you guys are starting to allow handguns and holsters at the range as well, right?
Yes.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, like,
Yeah.
uh, I think like at three gun, it's something that I've gotten used to. I just think everyone's always got an unloaded handgun in their holster, and that's a very normal thing.
Yeah.
And it's actually like a safe thing, right? Because if you think about like the process and the checks that go into it, like you go down, you do your shoot, you show clear, hammer down, holster, and the handgun just stays there for the rest of the time. Um, it's a very safe place for the handgun to be. There's no one getting lazed. It's just sitting in this purpose designed receptacle for it, and
Yep.
it's really cool that you guys have done that. It just
Yeah.
you think of there's a lot of ranges that don't allow holster usage for safety concerns and that kind of thing, and I think that it's misplaced, and I think a lot of organizations are starting now to see that by having too many restrictions, they are limiting their members, they're limiting the community, and when we limit the community, we don't get the growth as fast as we need to, and we get chipped away at. We get chipped away at by governments in power, chipping away at different privileges that we have, different rights that we have, and just picking and picking and picking and picking. Oh, Ruger number one, 460 Weatherbees. Nah, you can't have those anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, MMP 22s, no, you can't have those anymore. That's a weapon of war, and that kind of thing. So yeah, I definitely think we need to let loose and get a lot more people in there. So it's nice to see.
Yeah,
I think more conservation groups are starting to do that as well, right? More of the fishing game ranges.
it could be. I mean, I think maybe Edmonton, Sherwood Park Fish and Game, because it's so close to Edmonton, is a bit of an odd duck, because we do have a lot of people from Edmonton and the surrounding community.
Hmm.
Like most fish and game clubs are typically, 300 members. We've got, I think, close to 6,600 now.
Yeah.
And we did a study a while back, and roughly about a full quarter or half of those people are there just for the range portion alone.
Yeah, that's an interesting thing because a lot of these conservation groups are hunting conservation oriented. I mean, Chaz as well, Canadian Historical Arms Society. It was like a Milsurp collectors group, I guess, like originally.
Yeah,
But if you think about what they're doing there now, it's like they're very much focused on the range and making things great for members there. And I think
yeah,
that that's where people need to spend their time, right? A lot of people
yeah,
have firearms that they're just not useful in other contexts other than sporting. And when you need for sporting uses, you need a range that supports that kind of stuff and
yeah,
has the facilities and has the programming to bring new people in and offer different things to different people, right?
yeah. And like even then, talking to some of the like the older guys or like hunters, like diehard hunters, even they're starting to say like, well, some of the things that are going on, they don't feel right. Like if they're taking away this stuff, what's next? Right. So they're starting to realize the slippery slope of this whole situation that we're encountering.
Yeah, there's a surprising number of hunters and firearms owners who are like, yeah, let the AR-15s, let them ban those so that they leave our hunting rifles alone, but not realizing actually that was your buffer. That was your
Yeah.
buffer between them and you, and now that buffer's gone, and
Yeah.
now you're like 1 minute away from in Australia, pump action shotguns are banned. They're
Yeah.
rapid fire lever actions. They're
Lever
like
actions are banned.
yeah, they had troubles with lever actions. Do you want that to happen? That's the next thing that happens after this barrier's gone, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that yeah, conservation groups, especially, but just because there's so many of them and so many people that is their range membership is at their local conservation group. I think it's in their best interest to get into firearms advocacy of different methods, whether it be like getting more competitions and more matches going, or being welcoming and getting new members in. I know some smaller ranges are a little bit stodgy and hard to get into, and their website sucks. You don't know what, like there's no rules. You have to go to an orientation at some guy's house. Like all this weirdness in trying to become a member that's not very welcoming. So it's something that I'm happy to see a lot of groups changing, a lot of ranges changing.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
mean, yeah. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, no, I was going to say, so like with Sherwin Park, I think we were actually inspired by Chaz, sort of like, well, if we can do the online stuff or the orientation stuff online, why not? I mean, people really just need to understand the rules and how things work. And we have some videos, I think, too, that help explain things. So it's like, make it easy for people to join your club and
Yeah.
to get out there and participate.
Yeah, make it easy for them to understand
Yeah,
like some of the etiquette and etiquette around going to a range, like what's cool, what's not cool, what do you do when you get to the line? Do you pull your gun out from your car, or do you bring your cased rifle to the line? Like, what's cool, what's not cool? And a lot of people just don't know, right? They might have
yeah,
grown up shooting rifles on a farm where there's no such thing as a cased rifle.
yeah,
Even if you're going hunting, it just sits on the passenger seat,
yeah,
And
yeah.
to get those guys out to the range, they need to learn the etiquette. I'm talking about myself, by the way, because I would put myself in that category.
Yeah, I would too, actually.
Yeah,
Yeah, muzzle up and walk to the range. Who
yeah,
cares? Walk to the line.
yeah. It's muzzle up. Who cares? It's
Yeah,
not going to shoot anyone. Yeah,
yeah,
but yeah, a lot of that stuff, just people have to learn about it. I mean, another thing that Sherwood Park is doing differently is raising money for advocacy groups like the CCFR as well, right?
yeah, yeah. So there, we originally had last year budgeted a $5,000 donation to the CCFR.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it just gets down to a lot of us, we agree with the CCFR's approach of education,
Mm-hmm.
like teach people that these aren't horrible, evil things, that they're, they have been and will be a productive element of society. And yeah, and then things kind of went south just recently, and that spurred us into action because we were looking at this too, and we're like, well, as part of our survey, we found that a lot of people will have a range membership because of the requirements for a restricted PAL. So if we lose these people, that has an impact on our membership, which impacts our revenue. And being a Fish and Game Association, we do donate a lot of money to conservation efforts. And so we
Mm-hmm.
thought, well, we need to stick up for the gunnies in the crowd and help them out, because if we lose them, we're losing money, which impedes our ability to act as a proper conservation organization.
Yeah.
So
Wow, what a concept, eh? Oh,
yeah.
by the way, hi,
Hi, Kelly.
Tom. I've been squirreled away in the basement working.
Oh,
I actually am working, so but I thought I'd come up and jump on as well. I just
oh,
wanted to say
sure.
hi. So, yeah, what a concept, eh?
Yeah. So it's, and this is a pattern all across Canada. If you look at conservation efforts, those are funded by primarily hunters. And what do hunters own? They own bows and they own guns,
Right.
right? And you lose half of that equation, that's going to have a significant impact on all conservation efforts. Like Ducks Unlimited, for example, they kind of maybe had a bit of a political PR misstep. I don't want to judge
Right.
them on that, but they got a lot of backlash over some of their decisions this year.
Mm-hmm. Now, their response to that was that they're not able to. They're a their conservation group first, and the reality is because they're funded by the government, they decided that they
Yeah.
want to take a stance on it. However, there's other groups that have, and we've seen that recently with, I don't know if you guys were talking about it already yet, but there was some conservation groups and different federations that have all joined together
Yep.
and put out a response to the OIC. And that's actually what we need to do, or what we need to see. Like, I'd like to see other groups, for example, like OFA and other groups that
Yeah.
basically take on exactly what Sherwood Park's doing. I just have to say, Sherwood Park is impressing the heck out of me. Like, it's seriously, you guys have really just stepped up in the last year, 2 years, especially with you and Roland and other people who have come on board. I know
Thank you.
that with the exposure, but also public, you're having first time ever public events there. But your members, you have, okay, I come from Ontario, where our range is like, my range that's local here is 250 people, and that's a lot of people at this range. And there's other ranges that are 150 and they want to cap it. And then there's other ranges that are 1,000. But out in Alberta, like Chaz and Sherwood Park, your membership is like huge, and you guys can. It's nice that you guys are looking at how to actually continue. I can't imagine. Let's say if an Ontario range is 150 people and it's a rod and gun club or a concert like Sherwood Park is, and then saying no, we're not going to actually support those that hunt. What's going to happen to it? Exactly what you're saying. The range is going to close basically. So
Basically.
yeah, so it's
Yeah.
time to take a step up. I can stop talking now, but I want to say hi. Anyways, I
Yeah.
love your shirt, by the way, too.
Oh yeah, it's my favorite shirt.
Yeah, I know. It's
Yeah.
the little Deutschlander, and that's right.
Yeah.
Anyways, okay. Hi.
Hi.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, a lot of ranges derive probably a lot of their revenue from people with restricted rifles, which are toast. All the restricted rifles are gone now. Well, not all of them, but
Not all,
a
but a big
significant
chunk.
portion. And the next up is, what happens with the municipal handgun ban? Well, all those conservation groups that get a lot of revenue from people who go to the range for handgun shooting, and handgun shooting alone, if they're in one of these municipalities, they're going to see their membership chopped huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like things like IPSC, I think I saw was one of the fastest growing sports in Canada, particularly among women.
Yep.
And
Yeah.
like three gun is right up there too.
Yeah.
I don't know the breakdown amongst the sexes, but it's like, these are two shooting sports that are just skyrocketing in popularity.
Well, it's because it's fun, right?
Yeah.
Women in every, like, so for example, hunting, women are just exploding in that category, as well as you said, three gun and IPSC. It's because it's fun. We want to go to the range. We want to have fun.
Yeah.
And we want to hunt and we want to do all of this. But both sexes, so male and female, both IPSC and three gun is just taking off. And that's because, again, it's
Fun.
dynamic as opposed to
Yeah.
other things. I won't say it, but it's kind of like, I'll say fetish. Okay, go. There, I said it.
Bench shooting. Bench shooting.
Bench shooting.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. No, I think it's fantastic. I think more conservation groups have to do it because, I mean, like, so we talked a little bit about this concept of barrier and having a barrier between hunters and gun grabbers. And the other thing is, like, hunting is being attacked as well right now. If you look at hunting in Alberta here, it's getting kind of like squeezed on both ends. We're told you can no longer spear hunt. No, like I wouldn't spear hunt myself, but I would defend other people's rights to do it. So that's not effective enough, and yet we got Justin on the top end saying an AR-15 is too much to hunt with. But in fact, like, an AR-15 is actually, like, if you look at like deer culls, if they need to send in contractors, contract hunters to kill a bunch of deer, an AR-15 is actually almost perfect for it. It's lightweight. You can carry lots of ammo. It's good enough to do the job. And a lot of contract hunters, when they're doing cullings, will use like just a 223 just because it's quick.
Yep.
Yet it's not. Yeah. So I mean, like, we
it's
get it.
It's not ideal, but if you have to do a lot of hunting, it is actually more ideal because it's lightweight and you can, and it's cheap and you can use.
If your shots are within 100, it's fine. It's
Yeah.
fine as well. So if you hunt in a very bushy area, like 223 is fine. And if you're a good hunter, knows the capabilities of your firearm, it's fine. I mean, on the other side, like an AR-10 are being used or were being used for hunting.
Being used,
yeah, and a lot of those were starting to become offered in very appropriate, like deer appropriate calibers, like 308, 6.5 Creedmoor, 243 for people who wanted to, like, less recoil. They came in like really nice ergonomic packages, and those are getting squeezed out as well. So people should see the writing on the wall now for assault rifles, and like a lot of big bore stuff is gone. What's next? Okay, well, pump shotguns, semi-auto shotguns, semi-auto anything. Maybe that BAR is gone. So
well, we've
maybe
we've already seen some of those things actually be added to the prohib list, so we know that it's actually not the writing on the wall. It is the writing on the wall. Or not waiting for it. It's like it is.
I think some people just don't see it, right? Like, some people just say, like, oh, they're just going to get the military rifles right now. But it's like, there's not military rifles. There's not just military rifles in there.
No, and there's not just semi-automatics.
Rugers,
there's bolt actions, and so
single shots.
Single shots, yes.
Yeah.
And the loose.
Did you guys see my
definition?
Did you guys see my new go-to rifle for a 3-gun maple seed, everything?
Yes.
Is it a blunderbuss?
No, it's my little pink rascal. Single shot.
Whoa, be careful. They're banning single shots.
I know.
You got that Ruger number 1's gone. Your Savage is coming up next. It's concealable. You have a concealable lightweight weapon.
Yeah, I know.
That's an assassin's weapon, Kelly.
Well, I should probably,
especially in your hands.
For the people behind me. Anyways.
Yeah. So I mean, I think that people need to be comfortable with the concept of defending someone else's rights to do something, even if they're not comfortable with it, for the sole purpose of this will delay them from getting to you. This will delay them from taking your BAR. This will delay them from taking your pump action shotgun, because they'll say they're not going to do it. But if we're modeling after New Zealand and Australia, that is the direction that things are going.
One of the troubling things is the lack of a definition of a variant under Canadian law. So one of the firearms they've happened to ban just recently was a 1908 Brazilian Mauser.
Yes.
And I get why they banned it, because this particular example was chambered in like 416 Rigby, which exceeds the 10 kilojoule limit.
Yeah.
Right.
But I happen to have a Mauser 98K in 8mm Mauser,
Hmm.
which was built in 1934, according to the stamps on the barrel. So is that German Mauser a variant of the Brazilian Mauser?
Or is it
Which is a variant?
capable? Is it capable of doing
That's
10,000 joules?
it doesn't mean it doesn't have to be a variable. It has to be
Variant. Yeah.
capable.
Capable of.
Yeah.
Of. And it's
If you put a different barrel on that Mauser, it would be capable of.
Yeah.
right.
But it's also a variant of a prohibited firearm. And if you read the
Right.
OIC, it says these firearms or any variants thereof, right?
They'll get through it.
So is my
they'll get
Mauser
through
now
the-
banned?
Well, no. And
Not yet.
Not yet.
I'm just saying, according to Trevor, and Slamfire Radio gets watched, and as soon as we talk about something, it'll immediately get banned. So wait for it.
No.
We should have told him that before he mentioned.
Damn it.
I know. But you're not the first person to say this. What we're seeing is some people who have firearms, and these are firearms that have been passed down through the family, and like historical firearms, and these are now becoming prohib, and it's kind of sad. People do not want to give them up, especially since they're my grandmother's used it, or my grandfather used it, my father used it, now I'm using it. So why should you have to turn in something that is it's an heirloom basically? So it's sad.
Well,
It really, really is sad.
I bought this off an army buddy like 30 years ago for $80, so it's not really an heirloom. But
You spent $4,000 on it, is what you spent on it.
well, that was the modifications and enhancements I poured into it over the last
Okay.
30 years. So
Okay, all right, and dollar value has increased, inflation, so it's now 4,000.
No, it's probably true. It is worth a lot more now.
Yeah.
Mausers are, yeah. But yeah, I think it's just, even if all you need is a pump action shotgun and your bolt action 308 for
Not bad.
hunting, you need a barrier between you and the gun grabbers, and that barrier is sport shooters and people who
Yeah.
are using this other stuff, and you should support them because they are your cushion between the gun grabbers and you. I think a lot of people just are just like in denial that it's coming. They're like, nah, it's not going to come. But it's like the liberals run on gun control every election. They got elected in last time. They ran on gun control. They enacted what they said they were going to. They got in this time. They ran on gun control. They're going to put in what they said they're going to put in, and they're going to keep doing it. It is part of their playbook to continually add gun control, even when they lose. And it's not the only reason why they win. Like, they have all these other things that people want a 420 blaze it, and they wanted election reform and all these other reasons that the liberals won. But they'll always run on gun control, and it'll always be a constant erosion until we have nothing.
Yep.
Until the people who have been yelling at us from like, oh, hunters don't need a 308 that can kill something from 400 meters away, and hunters don't need spears, and we'll be stuck somewhere in the middle here with, I don't know.
I find it really interesting, because the people who say that, you shouldn't be hunting with spears over here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, the poor bear and everything, right? Over here. And then you have the same people saying you don't need an AR-15. You can go back to using like crossbows, or like, I even had one person say, you can use spears. Like, go back and use, I'm going, okay, so which is it?
But you can't.
But you can't, because Alberta is saying, no, you
told
can't.
us you couldn't.
So what is it? What do you want? Like, anyways.
Erosion. Constant erosion from wherever they can poke in on spears, poke in on this. No AR-15s, no 50 BMGs. Okay, you don't know hunting with that stuff. Soon it'll be like, no 338 Lapuas. 4570, you don't need that. You just use the 308.
That's a military cartridge.
Yeah,
Right.
actually.
But okay, so if you don't need it for hunting, so what are you supposed to do? I know a lot of people who go out and will go and do trophy hunting, or they'll go out and they'll actually do bigger game hunting out in Alberta or what have you, and they need that larger caliber, right? Because they're going longer distances. So what are they supposed to use? Like,
I don't know. I don't think the Liberal Party cares, or
I know. They don't really care.
People who
But I'm just
vote for
saying,
them care.
the people who are saying that are internally gun owners that are saying
Mhm.
you don't, use a shotgun, or you don't. So yeah, we do need them. And if you're somebody who's a hunter, you should be sporting all sorts. Just saying, right?
Regardless if we need
Uh,
them or not, there's no reason we shouldn't have them.
mm,
You don't need to hunt. That's the crux of the issue here. This need thing has got to stop, because that argument ends up being you don't need to hunt. Go to the grocery store, buy your meat there.
I've said the exact same thing. And then my brother stopped talking to me.
You told him not to hunt?
I told him he was a murderer.
Oh, okay. Did
No,
he say
and then-
damn straight?
Yeah.
You bet I am. on a good year I am. On a
Yeah.
bad year, no. I gotta go to the
then,
grocery store.
and you know what? And then I did use that. And then I figured things out. Because the reality is, you know what?
There's a lot of things you don't need to do.
Exactly, whether you're eating
Mhm.
beef or whether you're eating venison, like reality is it's an animal. So
Yeah. So I mean,
figure it out.
realistically, it's want. And I mean that it would have been
Yeah.
nice to do some more hunting with AR-10s and that kind of thing, to just show people like this is what they're used for now. You look in the US, people going hog hunting, AR-15s. Absolutely, AR-15s. That is the tool to use for hog hunting. And if I would have gone coyote hunting, I would have loved to take my AR-15 out coyote hunting. But I can't, because I'm told I can't.
It got banned before you were able to do that.
And it was restricted too, so I couldn't do
Yeah.
it. Couldn't do it.
Right.
Perfect for it though.
Uh-huh.
Perfect. Better than a bolt.
Yeah.
For those who know what they're talking about. For those who aren't fuddy and say like, you only need a bolt action for coyotes. It's like, what if there's two? Show me a guy who can run a bolt that fast and catch a coyote that is on like a dead run after that first shot. Yeah, you need a semi for that kind of stuff. And realistically, the people we're arguing with aren't hunters. Frequently, there aren't hunters, and they have no business telling us what to hunt with or not to hunt with, because they don't know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
Anyways, and even if we are a hunter and we like bolt action hunting rifles and we're never going to use anything else, that's cool. But we need the guys with the semis to act as our airbags to stop
Airbags.
stop them from
Wow.
grabbing.
So I have a question for you. Who do you think is because the government says that they have consulted. They consulted hunters and they consulted these groups.
Mhm.
Who do you think that they're talking to? Do you think that they're talking to those people who are in doing more of the sports shooting, or do you think that they're actually so when they talk about firearms owners and they're talking about hunters, are they talking to people who are doing the bench shooters? They're going once and like.
I don't think they're even talking to them, because the most politically active of those people appreciate more of the shooting sports. I think like when I looked at the last report they had, which kind of wrapped up the consultations in person, the survey, the write-in responses, and then they specifically picked it was between like 10 and 30 people. I can't remember what the number was. But if you look at that, what that said, they picked
I saw the list.
They picked people not based on their expertise, but based on hitting some certain demographic numbers, and they had a couple of hunters in there. So at the end of it, they could say, "Oh, well, we consulted this group of 30 cherry-picked people, and among them there were hunters, and they said assault weapons should be banned." But really, they had like 25 people stacked on the deck to want to ban firearms and that kind of thing.
Yeah, I reread that report today and looked at the list of people that were in attendance, and it was the CCFR
not
was
experts
in attendance, and they gave
that's the consultations.
But but anyways, so but what we are seeing, speaking about CCFR, we're seeing that a lot of groups, especially gun clubs, are now donating even a portion of their membership, just like Tom's gun club is doing. I know Barry got Rod and Gun. Is it Rod and Gun? They donated today as well. I know that my own home club gave a donation 2 weeks ago. So fantastic. It means that, you know what, people want to step up and say nope and want us to fight. What?
Anecdotally, I've heard that there are some other, traditional fins and fur clubs now that are sort of like, oh, if Sherwood Park did this, if another conservation org did this, maybe we should be doing the same thing.
Right.
And I've even heard through the grapevine, some people are now like, oh, you mean I can actually approach my board and ask them to do this? I don't just have to pay my
Yep.
membership and then do whatever they tell me to do.
Yep. No.
So I'm hoping it's kind of this thing, we threw a pebble in the water and we're going to have the tsunami in Tokyo effect.
Right.
But we'll see.
I'm okay with, donations through shaming. It's okay.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's
But you're not biased.
No, you can donate. Hey, you know what? Donate to whoever. We're all doing the same thing, trying to win the same thing. But yeah, no, you step up. Go and talk to your clubs, because your clubs are going to close. There will be clubs that close because of this. I do know that. So yeah.
Well, I know a couple of small businesses here that have shut down because of this. Just small guys.
Yeah.
Targeted a particular market, and now that market is gone. And I know some personal individuals that they're out the pocket, like $100,000 this time, and in '95 they were out $50,000-$60,000.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And it's like, these guys have done nothing wrong. Why are they getting hammered like this?
Yeah,
exactly. I think it's one thing you mentioned there was just kind of showing that it's okay for conservation groups to do this. I mean, even if the group's original aim was purely conservation, yes, purely conservation. What happens if all these gun bans continue? Well, there's no hunting and there's no money for conservation. Conservation's out. Okay, so what do we need to do to stop this? Oh, we should probably stop these gun bans from happening, because that means that more people will get into sport shooting, more people will get into hunting. And the weird thing that most people don't realize who aren't hunters is that hunting funds conservation. And without hunters, there is no money for conservation. It's just not there. We'd have to tax people instead of having people voluntarily give their money over for all this conservation. You'd have to tax the crap out of everyone to maintain like a shadow of the conservation we have right now.
So the Ducks Unlimited dinner that I went to, I did. Anyways, so who do you think was at that dinner?
Lobbyists.
No. Okay, there was one. Okay, but who was at the dinner? Who's paying the tickets to get to the dinner? Who is entering, spending all the money on the draws? Who was winning all the guns that were there? Because there were a lot of guns there.
I'm going to guess it was hunters, duck hunters.
Exactly, right? Yeah. So these are the people who are funding these organizations. Besides, the government is also funding Ducks Unlimited, but whatever. Okay, so, but the fundraising that's coming to and supporting and doing all this conservation is people who are gun owners.
Yeah. So the group should protect those people and use some of their clout to raise awareness, fund some of the lobbyist groups, run some events at their local club to get more new people in, and just raise a profile of the hobby, because it's that's the way that we win, is more people knowing it, more people into it, deeper into it, and the better it is. Mm-hmm. Got to get deeper into it. There's too many guys who are like, I own a shotgun, but if the government came and took it from me, so be it. I don't really care. And it's like, okay, you're a gun owner, but like they don't compete. They're just not passionate about it, right?
So why do they have the gun? So why do they have the shotgun?
Some of those people used to hunt, or they still do, but they just like, just once in a while.
Like I fell out of shooting when my kids were born, and I'm like, kids, talk about a massive time sink, I tell you what. And then money, don't even get me started on that angle. But now they're older and stuff, and it's okay. I can kick them out of the house if I want to, or I can go off and do my own thing. And, I now have all this. My life is back. I can be me. But like,
the range.
Yeah, like when I was a kid, the most fun I had when I was like 16, 17 years old was on a weekend. I'd grab a half a dozen of my friends. We'd go out to a farm and shoot gophers all Saturday afternoon. Right? And that would cost us maybe $20 an ammo for the day, split amongst 3 or 4 guys.
Yep. That's a lot of gophers too.
Yeah.
And I mean, just recapturing that, getting more people into it, and keeping it moving forward. Something we got to do, something the conservation groups have to do as well. And I'm glad that you guys are, well, I guess I'm a member too. So me too. I'm going to pat myself on the back here
Thank you, Adriel.
for your work.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I am here to serve you, Adriel.
Tom.
No, thank you, Tom, and the rest of the people at SBFGA for pushing this stuff forward, because it's something that I think we need to do, and it's something that I'm glad to see more conservation groups moving forward with.
I have a question for Tom though before he leaves.
Yeah.
Sure.
Tom, so there's a lot of people who are listening, viewing, etc. Okay, so what do you want them to do?
I don't know. My take on this is the world is run by people that show up. So if you want your club to do something or behave in a certain way, volunteer and get out there. I don't think there is a single board of directors for any gun club or fish and game association that would not welcome participation and interaction with their membership. Right? So just send an email to your board and say, you know, I'm concerned about this gun stuff going on. What can we do about it? Can we send a donation? Like one thing that that hasn't really been announced with Sherwood Park is law enforcement agencies. They rent our range to train. And some members are like, we need to ban these guys. They shouldn't be allowed.
Okay.
And I'm like, no, bad idea. Instead, let's take their range rental fees, and we will, whatever money Sherwood Park makes this year off of renting the range to law enforcement, we're donating that again to the CCFR. So we're taking the government's money and we're funneling it back against the government. So, like, contact your board and make suggestions like that. Like, don't say, oh, let's kick the cops off the range. Let's take the money the cops are giving us to use our range and then donate it.
The reality is a lot of frontline officers don't agree with us.
Yeah.
And you know what? And if they need to qualify or if they need to train, they need a place to train. So, and to make things safer as well. I agree with that, but it's fantastic that you're taking the range fees and donating it to an advocacy group. That's fantastic.
Well, the anti-gunners get some of their money from the government, and now the pro-gunners get some of their money from the government too.
Yeah,
the government can fight itself. Lobby us paid to fight each other. It's kind of like Cold War funding, like a proxy war.
But yeah, basically just get involved, contact the board of your local fish and game association or gun club or whatever, and just a couple of emails to say, this is the direction I think we can be taking. Is there anything I can do to make that happen?
Yeah.
You may not have money, you may not have skin in the game, but your time is always appreciated and welcome.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. Thanks for coming on the show, Tom.
Yeah, thanks for having me.